Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So before we dive into these topics, do me a favor. If you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. And if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We're starting here with a report regarding the PS5 Pro, specifically the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution AI upscaler and how it compares to things like AMD FSR as well as NVIDIA's DLSS. This is being reported by WCCF Tech. They say the PlayStation 5 Pro AI-powered PSSR upscaler is definitely superior to AMD FSR 3.1, but lags behind NVIDIA's DLSS in certain scenarios, according to a very early comparison. A couple of days back, Digital Foundry shared a face-off video between the three upscalers based on Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart using approximate quality settings, as getting a perfect match proved to be not possible. In addition, the PC version of the game by Insomniac uses a different implementation of dynamic resolution scaling than the console version. Using this approximate recreation of the same visual quality settings, the early comparison highlighted how PSSR is superior to AMD FSR 3.1. with anti-aliasing and revealing new detail in movement. On the other hand, the upscaler lags behind NVIDIA DLSS in certain scenarios, as PSSR returns a softer image and DLSS resolves geometry with less aliasing. Still, NVIDIA had over 6 years to improve its upscaler, while PSSR is just at the beginning, so things will surely improve in the future. Interestingly enough, there's an area where the PlayStation 5 PSSR upscaler delivers better results than NVIDIA DLSS, at least in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. With ray-traced reflections, the Sony upscaler does a better job delivering better image stability, although this could be a result of Insomniac using a custom sampling pattern for PSSR. On lower quality settings, the Sony upscaler merges the checkerboard correctly, delivering a higher resolution output, while checkerboard artifacts are clearly visible with NVIDIA DLSS. So this is something I thought was worth going over because, again, when we look at the PS5 Pro, one of the biggest things that's being released with it is PSSR, and people want to know how much better is it than AMD FSR and how much is it lagging behind DLSS. Well, it seems like it's right in the middle, where it's obviously significantly better in some areas than AMD FSR, or just overall generally speaking, but it's not quite up to par with DLSS. But as the article mentions, NVIDIA has had 6 years to kind of refine DLSS and make improvements, and the fact that PSSR is already kind of, proving itself and showing that it can hold its own while not quite being up to par with DLSS yet, and the fact that it's also doing better in at least one area than DLSS, I think is really promising. I think people are very much interested in finding out just what Sony can do and what they can get out of PSSR going forward. There's no doubt that this is going to help games in the future. But on top of that, we also have more commentary on the PS5 Pro coming from Digital Foundry, this time specifically talking about how the PS5 Pro could be the best place to play multi-platform games with bad PC ports. There will be no reason to use FSR over PSSR. And this one is particularly interesting because, we've seen a lot of pretty bad PC ports for one reason or another. And it's interesting, listening to Digital Foundry chime in here. They're not saying this is guaranteed to happen, but that this is a scenario that could play out where the PS5 Pro in some instances might have an advantage over the PC. Now, obviously not in all cases, but there is something to be said for this, right? There is something to be said for the idea that some developers are just simply not going to properly optimize their games for PC for one reason or another. Maybe just because there's so many different configurations they have to take into account, or maybe they just simply kind of rush the PC port or something along those lines, to whereas the PS5 version, because it's just, two different SKUs they have to worry about, the base PS5 and the PS5 Pro, and they have PSSR at their disposal, it could ultimately make a difference in some of these games. And Digital Foundry saying it, the PS5 Pro in some instances could offer the best version of multi-platform games. But, we'll have to see how it all plays out. It's really difficult to tell right now. The PS5 Pro hasn't even officially released, but honestly, everything we're hearing about it so far, especially from, those who are considered experts in this field, it's sounding really promising. But we're going to move on to the next topic, which talks briefly about LEGO Horizon Adventures. I noticed that Push Square put up their preview of LEGO Horizon Adventures. Now, I'm not going to read the entire preview. I'm just going to give you the gist of it. Essentially, Push Square is very impressed with what LEGO Horizon Adventures is doing, saying that it might actually be the best LEGO game ever made. And there was a lot of different areas of the game that they praised, such as how good it looks, how well it plays, but also the fact that it actually implements some light RPG elements from Horizon, and it kind of retells the story. And apparently it's just like really nailing the tone, where this is going to be like a much more lighthearted version of Horizon, as we saw conveyed in the trailers. But they say here with the final paragraph of their preview write-up that all in all, it's quite a simple game, but that's by design. This is a Horizon title that will be playable by pretty much anyone, and we really do think it's going to introduce an all-new audience to Guerrilla's world. The gameplay is tight, and the visuals are outstanding. While we are concerned it may lack a little variety, we're already fairly confident this is going to be the best LEGO game to date. So that's some pretty high praise right there, because there have been a lot of LEGO games, and a lot of them have been, highly praised. So that's the only preview that I came across. I think we're going to get more from other outlets that went hands-on with it, but yeah, just figured I would let you guys know about this. Let me know if you're interested in LEGO Horizon Adventures. Moving on to the next topic, we have a report here about Red Dead Redemption 2 potentially getting a native PS5 port. Coming from PlayStation Lifestyle, it looks like Rockstar Games is working on a native Red Dead 2 PS5 port if an employee's resume is anything to go by. RDR2's current-gen release has been rumored for a while and was confirmed to be in development at one point by an internal Microsoft document, but it has been reported that Rockstar canceled the port. This leak is brought to us by an ex-user who saw Red Dead Redemption PS5/Switch mentioned on the LinkedIn profile of Emma Anderson, a production coordinator at Rockstar Games. Now, the article writer here says that they've seen the profile in question for themselves, and they can confirm its authenticity as it carries a verified badge. So this is something that we definitely want to take with a grain of salt, because as it mentions here, reportedly this port was actually canceled, and so this person's LinkedIn profile could just be referencing work that they did on this port, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't get canceled, right? That doesn't mean that it's actually something that's going to be releasing. But it is kind of strange when you think about it that Rockstar and Take-Two Interactive did not release current-gen versions of Red Dead 2, because I think that that's something that would sell very well. I think that's something that a lot of people would definitely pay for, right? Even if there wasn't an upgrade path, I think it would still do pretty well. I think people would be excited to see just how much better, a game like Red Dead 2 could look and run on the PS5, or even something like the PS5 Pro. But we'll have to keep an eye on this. It'll be interesting to see if we hear anything more kind of leading up to the Game Awards. But the final topic I have for you guys today talks about Sony trying to strike a exclusivity deal for Crimson Desert, but the developer refused the deal. It says here in July of 2023, Korean publications reported that Sony was attempting to secure some sort of exclusivity for Crimson Desert, the upcoming action-adventure game in development at Pearl Abyss. Now, the Korean developer and publisher, primarily known for Black Desert, has confirmed that was indeed the case. More specifically, they revealed to have received an offer from Sony for a timed exclusivity that would ban the Xbox version for a period of time. However, they decided to go with the self-publishing route after judging it would result in higher profits. So this is something that I thought was worth going over, because it goes to show that, Sony is not slowing down with their pursuit of trying to secure timed exclusivity deals with big games and third-party publishers. But it is interesting that we're hearing that this time around, the developer was like, no, we're going to pass on that. And, I think that's a smart thing, to be honest. If you're a third-party publisher and you're doing multi-platform development, if you look at the deal, and I've always tried to tell people this when it comes to these exclusivity deals that Sony tries to strike, because people really view Sony as the villain here, and I get why, but I've always tried to tell people that the publisher has to agree to the deal. It's not like they're being forced into this position, and the only reason they would agree to an exclusivity deal is if it made financial sense, if they thought that there was something more they could squeeze out of it. In this case, we're seeing the opposite, where the development team looked over the deal that was being offered and decided, you know what, we think we're going to actually just stick to being multi-platform because we're going to make more money that way, and it's just going to be better off for us. And I think that's absolutely what any third-party multi-platform developer should do if, after crunching the numbers or after looking over the deal, it just doesn't seem like it's going to work out in their favor, because sometimes these deals do turn out poorly, right? There's no guarantee. Not only is it a risk for the developer, but it's also a risk for Sony, because again, Sony is paying for the deal. It's not like they're just, you know, somehow strong-arming these developers and forcing them into a position of exclusivity. That's not the case at all. So it is interesting to kind of see the other side of the coin here, where we have a relatively popular game, a big game that people are very excited about, I would say, actually. And Sony did try to lock it down as an exclusive, but they're like, no, we're going to stick to multiplat. So there you go. Wanted to let you guys know about this, but that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you did, leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.